Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever episode of 324B21, the Orphan Black Podcast. Even though this is a video, our first one is going to be a video, it will be a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So today I am going to introduce you to myself. My name is Kimberly and I work for the Nerd Element, and my co-host, Sean, Fangirl S.
Hello.
Say hi, Sean.
Hello.
From dvmpe.com. It's going to be, we're going to co-host this podcast where we talk about all things Orphan Black. I just discovered Orphan Black, I want to say 3 weeks ago, and I binge watched the first season. I watched the pilot, and then the next day I watched 2 through 8, and then the next day I watched 9 and 10. I was so hooked. So hooked. If I would have watched it all in one day, except for I had an appointment, so I had to actually get up and leave. The second sleep, but it was very hard to do. But I finished it in 3 days, and since then I've watched it a second time, and I'm about halfway through a third time. Isn't that insane, Sean? Am I crazy?
Yeah, that was it was a little intense. I mean, I watched most of the season originally, and then with my schedule, it was kind of hard to catch it. So I didn't realize I missed as many as I did. So then I ended up binge watching myself. It was like 2 days. I watched them all. I had to I'm like, go do something. I have TV to watch.
Oh yeah, no, I know it's crazy, but I don't think I've ever been so enthralled by a show right off the bat, except for Game of Thrones. So the same thing happened to me with Game of Thrones, but I really, really, really liked this show. I think it was unique. You don't really see anything else like it on television, so I don't know. I really, really thought it was unique. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you every week about the previous episode. And since it hasn't started yet, it's premiering again on the 19th. We are going to go over the first season, basically. So, I don't know. I guess we should describe what the show is about. Spoilers, guys, because if you haven't seen the show, we're going to tell you what it's about, which is a spoiler in itself, don't you think, Sean?
Yeah, but if you haven't seen the show, I think kind of weird listening to the podcast.
True.
If you wanted to not actually feel like old timey radio. You know, you kind of listen to us talk about it instead of actually watch. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, but you should go out and watch it too. All right, so the show is focuses on the first character that you see. Her name is Sarah. But basically she witnesses this lady commit suicide in front of her, walks right in front of a train. What a way to grab you in like the first 5 minutes of episode. But the lady turns around and looks at her, and she looks just like her. And I'm not saying, oh, there's a similarity. No, it's a spitting image of her, and then she goes and walks right in front of a train. How traumatic would that be?
I think that was pretty, and she played it off really good, like how you would react. I mean, if somebody just walked out, first of all, they look like you, so you're shocked, and then the second thing is, oh, okay, now she's stepping in front of the train. I mean, what would you do? You would just have that stunned look on your face. I don't think you'd be able to, do much else other than what she did.
Therapy. That's all I have to say is therapy. Yeah, I totally like the way they filmed that, too, because when she saw it, it was like they went to like a fish angle kind of lens, and you just saw like trying to like play off her emotions. I really liked how they did that, because you'd be kind of like, what just happened? Craziness. So it's about her, and she tries to take over this lady's life. She takes her purse, and kind of goes through it. Why don't we just talk about the pilot episode? We might as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain this, and I'm not going to go through the whole pilot. But yeah, so she takes her purse, and goes through it, finds her drivers, of course takes her money. Mind you, in the first 5 minutes, I'm trying to figure out whether this is in the U.S. or where this takes place.
I wasn't the only one that was kind of like, wait, where are we right now exactly?
Yeah, because the train first says next stop someplace in New York. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're in the U.S., but then she took out the money. I'm like, that is not American money. and the driver's license was not an American driver's license. But I noticed Ontario plates driving around, so I'm like, okay, I guess we're in Canada. But you know what? There's guns in this. I thought Canadians like outlawed guns. Didn't they do that? Am I just wrong? Maybe I dreamt it or something like that. But
U.S. though.
what's that?
Now I have to rewatch again because I thought they were in the U.S.
No, they have funny money. And there's Ontario plates driving around, and mind you, she walked into a bank and walked out with $75,000, and the U.S. would be like, I'm sorry, you can't take more than 10 because the government is like, no. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't think they've ever come out and said where they are, though.
Just that they ended up coming over from England.
Right.
Yeah. Or Ireland. Where were they?
I think because they sound British.
Yeah. So, the first episode, yeah, I mean, it really gets you. Because you find out so much, obviously, about our main character, Sarah. And she has her brother and her family, and you're trying to find out, you know, what she's doing, just in general, like, who is she? Is
Right.
basically what you're trying to figure out. And then you find out that basically she's like a con artist. And she's like stealing from people.
She is. She's not quite good. It's not like, okay, so it's not like simple, you watch it. Obviously, this person's the hero, this person's the villain. So this is the person you cheer for, this is the person you don't cheer for unless you like cheering for villains. It's not like that at all. Sarah's flawed. All of them are actually flawed.
Yeah.
But you can't help but like Sarah anyway, especially when you find out what's going on. So we find out she has a kid. You actually find out she has a child early on because the first thing that she does when she gets off the train is to make a call to somebody saying that she wants to see Kira. So I automatically assumed that was her daughter just because of the way that she acted. So you find that out, and she does she takes her purse. She actually goes to her flat. She called it a flat too. I'm like, there are no flats in the U.S. There really are, but we don't call them flats.
Got her accent anyway, so
Yeah.
a little differently.
Yeah. No, that's true. But she goes there and she sees like these pictures of this person that looks exactly like her, and she's going through her stuff. She finds out that she has a bank account with $75,000 in it.
That'd be nice.
Right? And she's like, oh, I need to figure out a way to go to this bank and claim this money for myself. Meanwhile, she knows this body is going to emerge that's going to look just like her, so she enlists the help of her foster brother, Felix, who I adore, mind you.
Felix.
I adore him. He caught me like right off the bat. I'm like, I like this guy. She enlists him to go identify this body as her own. Come to find out, the person that she's impersonating is actually a cop who is in the middle of this big investigation for shooting somebody who wasn't armed, shooting and killing somebody who wasn't armed. So there's that aspect, and it's like a big mess. It's not just clean. Oh, I'm going to go take this money and I'm going to run like I thought I was going to. No, I'm stopped by my cop partner, Art, who's dragging me into the station to do something, events that I don't remember. So I don't know. That first episode was crazy because there was so much stuff going on.
It was a really good setup where it wasn't like, let's ease into this and just give you a little tiny glimpse of what's to come. I felt like they really jumped in with both feet with it. And then the rest of the season just kind of, built on it and grew. I don't think there was ever really a boring episode.
No, there was no boring episode. They really just got into it, and every episode was like boom, 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 and it kind of built on itself, just giving you more and more information about what's going on. What did you think about Art to begin with? Like Art, which is her partner. He's a cop, so he's her partner. At first, I didn't like him because he was so pushy, and I was like, get out of her business. but then over the season you realize that he helped Beth, the lady who actually stepped in front of a train, cover up the fact that she shot somebody who wasn't armed, and so then it made sense to me why he was so like on her, because his butt was on the line. But at first I didn't like Art at all.
I thought, honestly, when we first meet him, I thought he was a jerk. And then, like, just kind of the way he was acting, I thought they were maybe having an affair. And that it was, like, she wasn't acknowledging anything, that he did this for her because I was thinking it was because of the affair.
Yeah.
There was no affair. At least nothing that we know of.
Yeah, nothing that we know of. But that's interesting that you saw it from that. Now, like, I'm going back and thinking about it, because I never thought of that, but I'm going back and thinking about it, and I can see where you would have come to that conclusion. Because he was acting all kinds of cray-cray. He was, and he took all of her money, and he's like, you get it back when you get reinstated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, punch him in the face. Like, this guy. He doesn't like Paul, so I could totally see that.
Yeah, and he mentions, well, Paul ends up being Beth's boyfriend, which, okay, we have Sarah,
complicated
con artist. We have Beth, who is our cop. That's who we've met so far. And Paul's the boyfriend of Beth, which I think she does a pretty good job conning. Like, he doesn't know anything until well into the season. Like, he doesn't even suspect, which is really...
Well, he suspected right off the bat, and so what did she do? She took off her clothes, and that was it, you know? It's like, but he suspected immediately.
Oh, yeah, when he talked about her punk Clash. Was it
her shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Clash. She's like, they rock, you don't. Yeah. So, yeah. It got a little crazy there, and then you didn't know what to think about Paul. Like, I kind of felt like, oh, this poor guy, you know, he's getting, like, dumped on and stuff like that, and then you find out Paul ain't so innocent, so, that comes later. But, I mean, we can't go through every single episode, because this would be, like, a 2-hour talk, but just in general, like, over the season, what first hooked you? What episode hooked you? Or anything, an event?
The first episode. Because, like I said, it jumped in. It wasn't... I mean, I understand world building in TV series. But this one kind of jumped in, so you're going right into it, and then they're going to build it around everything. So you're getting it kind of as... almost like first person, because you and Sarah are learning everything at the same time. So I feel like, you know, you're connecting with the main character, because you're kind of along with this ride with her. She doesn't know anything that's going on either. And then you come to find out there's so much going on, and, you know, she just seems like she was so left out, because what we find out later is they didn't know about her.
Right. I did not know enough about this series when believe it or not, when I watched it a couple weeks ago. I didn't really know that they were basically clones. So what hooked me? Well, first when Felix opened his mouth, I was like, I'm gonna watch this because I like that guy right there. But when the German, I believe, she got into the car and the end of the first episode, and I was like, what? I'm like, okay, gonna keep watching this, because that's a little crazy, and then just see Beth's reaction. And then you obviously know that she's playing this character multiple times. And so just hearing her portray her, like Sarah, she's playing Sarah, and then she pretends to be Beth, so she's playing Beth, who doesn't have an accent. Sarah has a British accent, and then to hear her play this other person who has a German accent, I'm like, this could be really, really interesting. And obviously, she's very talented. At that point, I have no idea what she sounds, because I haven't seen her interview. I had no idea if she had an accent or not. And then I saw an interview shortly after. I totally didn't. I mean, we were in that panel, and I had no idea. Like, I just didn't know. Like, I don't even know. I could kick myself. I was in this panel at Comic-Con, and it was women kick ass panel, and she was on the panel, and I just I didn't even put two and two together. I'm so disappointed in myself. We won't talk about that. But yeah, I didn't know she didn't have an accent. And either does the guy who plays Felix. And I'm like, "What?" Mind
Wait,
blown.
he doesn't?
No, he doesn't at all.
That's incredible.
Isn't it? I'm like, and now I understand why she was nominated for a Golden Globe, and she deserves it. Like she does a great job. But that's the part that kind of hooked me. I'm like, I'm gonna keep watching this. So, well, let's see. Over the course of the season, so we're introduced to more clones. So we've got Allison, who is the soccer mom. They call her the soccer mom. Well, they call her the soccer something that I won't say right now. Then you've got Cosima, who is like a grad student and kind of like hippie-ish, kind of, I would say. You have Rachel, who you met at the very... What's that?
She's a smart hippie one, basically.
She's like, every scene, she's like smoking a doobie. Like, every single scene, I'm like, dude, that's all that she does. And then you've got Rachel, who they call the pro clone. And you don't meet her until, the last 2 episodes? And then you've got Helena, she is
crazy one.
She's crazy. She's from the Ukraine, and she, come to find out, is the one that's picking them all off one by one. She's killing them. She's the one that killed the German, and her whole motivation is she was brought up by this really religious sector who's saying these are kind of a crime against nature clones. They're not God's children, and they need to be eliminated. And this group is telling her that she's the original. But that really isn't the case. What's funny is, I don't really understand what the case is. I don't know that they were... I feel like, because they were all born from parents who were artificially inseminated.
Right.
So... you can't even really tell if Sarah and Helena are the originals, or
Well, I'm assuming that's something they're going to actually dive into with the new season, because obviously the genetic material is coming from somewhere. So I kind of feel like we're going to get a much older version, and that's going to be the original. It's just that Sarah, and which we find out later, super spoiler, Helena, were twins, and their mom was in Cape Town, I think she said.
Yeah, from South Africa. When Sarah introduced her mom, her surrogate to Helena, and she said, "This is our birth mom," Helena's reaction was my reaction. She looked at her and she's like, you've got to be kidding, because she's not African American because she's African, but it's just no, that doesn't work out. But we find out she's a surrogate.
One is the look she had.
Right? She has blonde hair. So yeah, we find that she was this surrogate, and she was doing this for what she thought was a family, but found out that they were doctors, and so that they were talking about the children like they were some sort of experiment. So basically, she freaked out and she tried to hide Sarah and Helena from them, giving one to the church and one to the state, and maybe that is why they didn't know about Sarah's existence.
Because they seem to know about Helena.
Yeah, that is true.
There was somebody being raised by basically the crazy people, the crazy religious nuts, and they turned that one against the rest of them. But yeah, knew about Sarah because, no, I take that back. They knew about her, but they didn't know where or what happened to her. Because, which we find out later, Cosima, the super smart one, who was doing genetic research for her doctorate, she was researching the clones because she finds basically a defect in all of them, all the ones that they know about. And when Sarah comes in the mix, Sarah is unique from the rest of them because none of the rest of them are able to have kids. And Sarah had one. And that was right off. That kind of makes me wonder, too. She may not be the original, but I'm thinking like first gen, you know, like the first group, and that's why they were able to, or she was able to. And I'm thinking they were just bright enough to keep Lena from being with anybody because she was crazy.
All right, don't breed crazy. But yeah, that's kind of random too. Like I got the feeling that they can't have kids, and then Allison kind of confirmed that. But I don't know if Cosima ever said anything about that. And
she does because she tells her that she's completely unique, and then later in this that none of them can have kids, and then later on when what's her girlfriend's name? Delphine, right?
Yep, Delphine.
When Delphine comes in the picture and finds out about Cosima's her research, I'm blanking on words. It's been one day. She doesn't mention anything because she turns out to be a spy at first for, you know, the big bad scientists that are the ones who did this, Dr. Leakey. But she doesn't tell him about Kira because she knows even that something is completely different. It's like she was, even though she was spying on them and trying to get the information, she was like trying to protect the daughter. So, I mean, they know something's completely different. That's why I was thinking she's like first generation.
Yeah, but you know, Delphine. I don't know how I like. I think she's okay. Like I think she's a good now. Whereas some people, I'm like, I can't tell if this person is good or not. I'd like to think Delphine is good because it's really interesting. Like Cosima is very bright. She picked up that Delphine was her watcher, that they call him.
Right.
She's basically saying that they're all test subjects, so of course they're going to have an observer that is close to them to observe them. And Paul is Sarah was Beth's watcher, but now it's kind of Sarah's because Sarah was impersonating Beth. With Allison, you know, Allison suspected it was her husband Donnie, and then decided it was like her neighbor or one of her good friends. And that whole story was a travesty.
I kind of feel like it could have been both because she just had super nosy.
I think she was
in suburbia.
I think she was just super nosy, and I know, right? And it's so funny that it's not funny. It's just like Allison went over there and she was so like mad, thinking that this lady was her watcher. And she didn't kill Avery, but she didn't stop her death either. It was just one of those random accidents. Her scarf got caught in a garbage disposal. It was just a horrible way to. I don't know. There's just a horrible way to die, but she didn't prevent it from happening either. And you can see that Allison was going through like some trauma in her head that, you know, I'm a horrible person. I shouldn't have let that happen. But she thought that it was her watcher. And then at the very end, you find out it's at least Donnie is one of them.
Which I thought was weird because most of them have come into their lives recently. Mm-hmm. But he's either been a plant basically her entire life because she's known him since like high school, they said, or
I think they recruited him.
Yeah, so I'm like, what do we think it is? I mean, that's kind of up in the air too. If we know if it's been the whole time, like they've been watching Allison, or if it's just been, like a recent thing. They somehow, grab Donnie. Now my question is, with Donnie, what do we think was actually in the box? Do we really think it was
files? Yeah, I totally do. He was out there burning them, and he was talking to somebody on the phone, and he was burning. You couldn't tell what it was, but it was like pictures or something.
Right. It all seemed small and like pictures. That's why I'm like, is it pictures? Is it really? this person he had an affair with? Because he admits he had the affair, too, even to Dr. Leakey.
Yeah, he said that they were broken up at the time, and I'm thinking that's probably when they grabbed him and convinced him to go back and be this watcher. Because I find it hard to believe that they grabbed a high school kid and said, "Hey."
Right, like in high school, really, you're gonna be like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
And you're gonna depend your research on something like that. On some little kid, like I just don't see it happening. So that's what I suspect is when they caught him. So I don't know. I don't like Donnie because that makes me angry, and I like Allison. I think Allison's one of my. Who's your favorite character?
Other than Felix, because we both already said that we really like Felix.
I have a crush on Felix.
He's awesome. I like Cosima.
Everybody likes Cosima. The thing is, I like Cosima too. Because she's cheerful and she smiles a lot. But that could be because she's high all the time. But I like her attitude. But Allison cracks me up with her alcohol and pills, and she's just funny. She's like funny mess.
Like crazy suburban housewife. Like a stereotypical, because she has her happy pills and everything else.
It just makes me laugh. Like everything that she says makes me laugh. Her interaction with Felix makes me laugh. So, but I think Felix is my favorite character.
I do like Felix.
He cracks me up.
And then they throw so many questions at you too in this series, because we're thinking Mrs. S, who is the foster mother, who, as far as we know, was the one who to get Sarah and Felix out of. I believe she said it was Ireland originally, and then they moved. And then she brings them over, which I thought she brought them to the States, but you're saying Canada, so we'll review that before the next episode. But then at the very last scene, basically, with the birth mother, you see the picture of the scientist, and it's Mrs. S.
I know, Siobhan. They said her name at one, like she screamed her name once, and I was like, "Oh, that's Mrs. S." Yeah, and I'm like, see, my world is like broken. I trust no one. Everything came crashing down. And so is she the one that Rachel called at the end and said, "You know what to do," because all of a sudden Sarah goes home and Mrs. S is not there, and neither is Kira.
But it looks like there's a huge struggle because stuff is all torn apart.
But
it's like, okay, did they? I don't know. I'm really on the fence.
Cliffhanger.
Who do we trust?
I know. And so right now, like, I don't trust Donnie as far as I could throw somebody like him. And I don't trust, I trust Delphine. Delphine is just, it's because, you know what's funny? Cosima is so smart, and then she's like, I know that this is my watcher. This is the difference between me and you. So I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to get hurt. And of course she gets hurt, like, because she falls for Delphine, and then Delphine's like working for the enemy at this time, and then she's all like all butthurt. But it looks, well, I mean, it's like you can't see that's going to happen. Like, I don't know. She was blinded. But it seems like they kind of worked that out towards the end there.
Well, that's because that's when we start seeing the defects start coming up.
Oh.
Because the German was sick.
She was.
We didn't know everything. It was some kind of
respiratory.
Thank you. Helena's sick in the head, which
Cuckoo.
The German is dead. Helena, I'm just going to throw this out there now. Is Helena really dead?
I can't tell where the bullet hit. I have no idea.
You don't know. I don't know if she really is. I can't trust that either. The show is going to be very
boring,
like all these other BBC shows where I'm like, I can't trust anything.
It's going to be very boring without Helena. It's never going to be boring.
I can't trust it.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see. Well, we're gonna see new clones. That's for sure gonna happen.
Actually, I got the new EW and I didn't have a chance to read it, but there is something in there about the new clone, and she's already like super sick and in the hospital.
Yeah, it's gonna be series of videos, I believe they said, of her documenting, and it's what's happening to Cosima. And see, there will be an uproar if they let something happen to Cosima, because I think Cosima's like 90% of the Orphan Black population's favorite. So they can't let anything happen to her. I would be kind of upset, I think. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty upset. Because I've grown attached to all of them. Sarah, Cosima, Allison. I don't want anything to happen to those three.
Well, that's all we really know right now. I mean...
Yeah, well, I'm attached to them. It's done. You can't take them from me.
Because we don't really care about the pro-clone right now. But
no, I don't like her.
I do want to know how she got into the position she was in.
She was raised by
Neo-Lucianists?
Yeah, because remember Cosima was like, well, they did say one of the clones was raised by neo-evolution, whatever. You don't want to say that 5 times fast. And that was Rachel. That's why they call her the pro-clone.
I know, but I'm saying, like, why her? Why did it was just random out of all of them they picked her to raise, and then now she knows everything that's going on because she's obviously privy to the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
I think they just picked a
why
number.
is she like, okay, just kill them off, whatever? Because I remember hearing something, and it could well have been a preview for the new season, talking about her saying something like kill them or end them.
She has no regard for anybody. You can tell. She was even saying Leaky tends to get too attached to people. He's too attached to me. Like, she just doesn't care, which is unbelievable to me.
That's because kind of like Helena, she was brought up in the crazy, whatever that particular religious sect was. Rachel's brought up the opposite with this neo-Lucianism into that kind of crazy sect. So you have these two different extremes fighting each other, and then you have the other clones in the middle who were just trying to survive. And they don't know what's going on. They're just learning everything. And it's crazy with the whole thing. It really...
You're so logical. Whereas I'm like, you're so logical, and I'm like, I don't care. I feel sorry for Helena even though she's killing people, and I don't feel sorry for Rachel at all even though she's not. And I can't explain to you why. That's just the way it is.
Okay. The thing is, too, I don't think Rachel is affected by whatever... What do they say? Like the protein or whatever that they put inside of them that basically will make them sick. I feel like she's not affected, but somehow this whole time they've been, like, working on her. So she's not going to have the issue. Because Cosima ends up finding, Cosima and Delphine, actually, they get the information about the genome sequencing, and when they read it all, they see they're basically copyrighted, which is, like, really weird.
Illegal.
Yeah.
It's illegal. Would never hold up in court. But yeah, no, well, everybody would go to jail if it ever went to court. But
right.
Yeah, they were patented
in there, and I swear, unless I'm just mixing it up with a movie that I feel like I've seen that's something like that, like something's in their sequencing that they can activate to make them sick, or if it gets to a certain point in the lifespan, it like makes them sick.
No, I didn't see or hear that at all. I mean, you could have read something that I didn't. I don't know, but no, I didn't know that at all. I would. That.
Now I'm going to try the lab and see if I actually seen this, or I just mixed it up with something.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out. I mean, they're gonna say what it. I mean, they're gonna have to say what it is. And so we'll definitely find that out. I just hope it doesn't take Cosima, because that would be unfortunate. And it'd be also interesting to see if Sarah has this trait or gets this at all either, because if she doesn't, then that's just one other indicator that she could be the original, a part of the original. Maybe there are two originals. Mm. Or I don't know, she's because she's obviously different.
Right. I mean, if she can have a baby, she was, different from the get. So
in theory, and I say in theory because we all know like human cloning is illegal. But in theory, if you kept making copies of something, that there would be degradation because I mean, you're copying, copying, copying,
Yeah.
so there would be problems like that.
That's
So I
like
guess
if you're making photocopies. If you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it gets a little bit grainy and gets worse as you go. And
right. So she just might be like a very like a, I don't know, maybe the 100th copy or something like that. Which it's scary to think about. Like how many of them are there? Um,
yeah, because Allison mentions it that it could be, there could be thousands of them. They don't know because they've spread them out all over the world. And just because we've learned about, 9 of them, that doesn't mean anything, because there's going to be more. That's why I think this show can go on for a while, because they can keep bringing in, obviously, different versions. Like, somehow they hack into files and they find that, there's more of them in, Florida and Mexico, wherever. Like, start pulling them from everywhere somehow. So
it's just somebody needs to go to jail for all that. It's so wrong in so many ways. But yeah, they do have a platform that would last as long as the main actress would like to do it. So this could last for a very long time. And I believe the first season just had a lot of attention. So they say that the second season is like the first season on crack. I can't even imagine. I just can't because the first season was so good.
I thought that was just Jimmy saying it because he,
No,
he is so
it was a quote.
about this show. Like,
It was a quote from who said it? I think it was the lady who plays Mrs. S.
Okay. I
So-
just watched something BBC. I got an email actually because I bought too much stuff off of BBC America. I got an email and it had a little thing. It's an Orphan Black season 1 recap in 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of crazy. Watch, maybe we can try to tag that in here somewhere. But it was it's like clone, 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 clone.
We'll put that in the comments then.
It was actually pretty cool though, seeing how fast. We sat there and like you said, you binge watch, I binge watch, and I'm like, you sit there and watch it and you get so sucked in. I watched it on I was watching on demand with my cable, so it was great. And then they've been playing it, so I've been catching it in the mornings before work too, because it was on BBC America. So I'd catch part of it and then watch the whole thing when I got my binge watching. I'm doing that a lot lately. There's so many shows.
That is the best part, though, because now we're to the point where we're going to have to watch it episode by episode, and I'm not going to know what to do with myself. Because at least, like, I saw the pilot, and I was like, yeah, I've got 9 more right now. I don't have to wait, and I could go through them all. Now I'm like, oh, yay, now it's going to premiere, and I've got 1 episode. I've got to wait an entire week before I see the next one, and if they have a break, I'll be going crazy.
What's going to suck is when we get to the end. End of the season, it's going to be the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so far off. It's kind of like how I felt with Game of Thrones. That took forever to come back. I know you're a fan of that too.
Yes, I am. And unlike Game of Thrones, please do not be killing off main characters because I cannot handle that. The mental anguish of it all. I can't. So what did you think? What do you think about Dr. Leakey? Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy?
That's a really good question, and I'm not really 100% sure how to answer that because I feel like he's not necessarily bad, but he's not doing good things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like he's one of those chaotic kind of people where he thinks what he's doing is to better the world, and he's thinking that the ends justify the means. So he doesn't think he's bad, and right now I kind of feel like he's on the fence, in my mind he's on the fence because he's still watching everybody, but he's not the one giving orders to hurt any of them. It's like he just wants everybody to be observed, is how I'm feeling with him. And I'm thinking that it is Rachel who is really the one who's kind of like
the puppet master.
Yeah, I'm thinking she's the one who's evil, and she's like, okay, I'll do whatever I have to because I'm going to survive, and this experiment needs to go on.
I don't know how I feel about him either. I am inclined to say that he's bad only because he's handing out clauses or like agreements saying that they will be watcher free, and we know that's not true. Okay, he told Allison that they lifted her watcher, but they haven't. They're intellectual property, so they can't be free. And I know he was looking at the test results, so he knows. And he removed that sequence before he gave all the data to Cosima, so he knows that they're barcoded for intellectual property. And he still gave that to them anyway, and kind of generated hope where there really wasn't any. And so part of me is like, this guy is not a good guy, but he might not know the whole story. Just because, like, I don't even think, the Watchers don't know the whole story. They only need to know the parts that they need to. What is his name? Olivia didn't know the whole story, and, we didn't even talk about him, Mr. Man with the Tail.
Yeah, that was creepy.
It was so gross. He was a creepy guy.
He was.
In general.
Yeah.
But then we found he was like some sort of sex offender too. So now it makes sense that the way that he act, the stuff that he was acting, like the way he was acting, that creeped me out. I can totally see that he's being a sex offender. The way he would look at Sarah, and I was just like, "Blah!" And he wanted to show people his tail, and I'm like, oh no.
Do you want to see my tail?
No.
I was like, ew, no. As he starts like undoing his pants, I'm like, no, please stop.
Please do not let this happen. And then Helena cut it off, so I thought that was funny. So he was kind of handling Paul, and see, I don't know if he had any contact with any other handlers because you didn't see him interact with anybody else. You saw Dr. Leakey interact with Cosima's watcher, Delphine, and with Donnie. And you don't know, well, with Donnie, you don't know if that's because, Olivia was killed. Leakey had him killed, mind you. That's another reason why he can't be a good person. But Leakey had him killed. But so you don't know if Olivier was only interacting with Paul or the other ones. But he didn't know the whole story either.
No, he didn't. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like not everybody here has the whole story. And although now I'm kind of wondering how much Mrs. S knows, because she was there at the beginning, but then she's been, how I kind of feel like she's out of contact. But what you were saying with the end, if that was actually her that did everything, maybe she wasn't out of contact this whole time and she was actually reporting. But then why didn't they know more about Sarah? I don't know.
Ooh, ah.
Yeah, I just totally went around in a circle. I went like around the block to go next door right there. So
And but it's like, what? No, I mean, you're just blowing my mind because I'm thinking about Mrs. S, and I'm like, they showed that picture. I mean, what if because the surrogate mother was like, they took what she thought was the parents' baby and put it inside her, but it wasn't the parents, it was doctors. So what if she and that other guy were the parents? And Sarah really is it was like the offspring, but it's the first one, and it's not like just an older person, a replica of them. What if Siobhan, Mrs. S, and that doctor that we saw in the picture are actually the parents of Sarah and Helena?
And then they'd truly be the parents of all of them then.
Creepy.
Oh my gosh, there's so many questions.
I know.
Good answers.
I know. I really want to know more about Mrs. S because
I'm really hoping we get more this season because, I mean, I feel like they have to. I mean, they're going to show you that picture so you know she was a scientist you know she was involved because she was the one who got her out. And like I said, we don't know what side she's on right now. Like, did you get her out and she was actually protecting her and hiding her this whole time because she knew what could happen? Or was she reporting on her this whole time? Like,
I want to know if she has a barcode. I want to know if Sarah has a barcode, has that intellectual property stamp on her DNA, or if she doesn't.
They had not actually tested her. They tested, what, Cosima?
Mm-hmm.
The German.
Right, and like a handful of others in
Right.
Europe. I don't know if they tested Allison, but they never said that they tested. They certainly didn't test Kira, and that that they didn't have Sarah's DNA because Cosima asked for hers and Kira's, and she could test to see if there was anything weird about it. So if she already had Sarah's, she wouldn't have asked for it, so they don't have hers. It'll be interesting to see whether she has that barcode or not, because if she doesn't, and they don't really have a claim to Kira. Well, they don't really have a claim to her anyway, because you can't patent people. But still, like, they would have no claim to Kira, and she shouldn't worry about that. Well, Kira's gone, but
Shoulda, coulda.
What's that?
I said, yeah, the whole shoulda, well, they shouldn't do this, but.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to say that that's not going to happen. So
I just want to see it right now. Right now. I want it to come out right now. And I want them to air episodes 1 through 5, okay? I want them to air episodes 1 through 5. You can't just give me one episode. Or, what they could do is go ahead and feel free to have a 2-hour, season premiere. I would be okay with that.
Oh my gosh, we'd have to like pick it apart so much.
I would. Freeze frame. Wait, let me see what I can see here. Okay. Play. Wait, let me see what I can see here. Okay.
Seriously, I'm going to have to rewatch it a couple times before we even do the first episode when it comes back, because there's going to be just a lot going on. And they're going to just throw everything at you. It's like, here.
Yeah, there is no slow build with Orphan Black, right? There is like, okay, we're throwing you all in. Swim. And so they did that. And it worked because a lot of people got hooked.
Yes.
Very enjoyable. So what was we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I want to know, what was your favorite part of the season?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, there were so many. I honestly liked when Sarah gets arrested, which sounds weird, because she finally comes clean with Art. And then he doesn't believe it, of course. And he starts investigating. And then him and his new partner, whose name escapes me, they start finding all this. And they realize something's not right. This shouldn't be happening. And so I think she finally has an ally completely outside. So that's going to try to help the clones, but a more legal way. Like, try to, bring it around and help them without anybody else knowing what's going on exactly. So that was my part. Like, she's finally got somebody in her corner that's not just one of the clones where they have something, that they can be knocked off because they're killing people off anyway. Somebody is like looking out for them. And of course, what's coming.
Yeah, I'm torn. I liked it when they told Sarah that Kira was going to be okay, because I was completely distraught when I saw her get hit by that car. I had to walk away, and I was mad at everybody for not telling me that it was going to happen, because I just was not prepared for that. And so she did a really good job with the emotion there. And then when they said that she's okay, like, she doesn't have anything, no like internal bleeding, no broken bones, and I'm like, that's something. I don't know what it is yet, but that's something, and that made me that much more intrigued. So I really like that. Also, any part that Felix had where he opened his mouth, basically. Have you ever noticed he kept getting kicked out of his own apartment?
Yes. Oh,
I kind of felt sorry for him.
I just love it when he's like going to help Allison, and he's like, oh, fine, find me something gay to wear.
He's so funny. I love his lines. I love his outfits. I loved him when he was at the club and he was dancing and he was all like, I was, I was on the floor and it wasn't even funny. I mean, it wasn't even that funny, but I was on the floor like it was like the funniest thing ever because it was to me.
Makeup so much better than I do.
Yeah, he does, right? He does makeup really well. So, and I love his hair.
Yes, he's great. So what are you looking forward to in season 2?
I need to know what I need. I need answers. I need answers. I am looking forward to the fact that they are going to find a way to save Cosima because if they don't, I'm going to be mad. Like Game of Thrones mad, like Red Wedding mad. I'm going to be angry. So that's what I'm looking forward to. You find the way to save Cosima, and don't let anything happen to Allison or Sarah in the process. So. That's what. No, really, I want to find out more about Mrs. S, and I want to know what that is, what her relationship is with the whole thing. That's probably what I'm looking forward to the most. What about you?
Oh my gosh. There is so much going on that I want to know about. Obviously, yes, we want answers. Everybody wants answers. Yeah, true.
Right.
Well, you know, we got a little Game of Thrones crossover happening too.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so I want to know who this mystery guy is that they've been showing in all the promo pictures with Sarah. And he's the guy who replaced the guy who was playing, oh gosh, what's his name? Dario something.
Yeah, the mother of dragons.
Life, but he totally replaced him, so whatever. But I want to know who he is. So I'm assuming it's Kira's father, so that we'll get more information about the background, and I'm really hoping he's not involved, because really I think Sarah might have a breakdown if there's more people from her past actually involved in the whole cloning thing, and she just had no clue. So,
yeah, I know. That would be sad.
Yes, I want to know more about the past, and obviously hoping we get more answers. That's my big thing for season 2, because they're going to just like jump in and you're going to be all sucked in anyway, but I want answers. I was not Red Wedding mad. I knew that was coming. I read the book.
Yeah, we don't know what's coming here. So
yeah, it might end up being like, what the heck just happened? I'm just sitting there for like an hour after the show ends, and I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Okay, so we're going to wrap up here, but guys, just so you know, this is probably going to be the only episode we do with video. We're going to turn this into a podcast. We just wanted to do a little introduction so you could see us, your co-hosts, for the podcast, so look for that coming up after the premiere of the next episode, which is on the 19th of this month, so probably a couple days later that podcast will be up. But, Sean, let everybody know where they can find you on social media, all that jazz.
Okay, well, I'm on dvmp.com. I do several podcasts over there. Social media, on Twitter, it's Jetta528. And on Facebook, I have a couple. So I'm on Almost Human Podcast. So it's what's my Facebook over there? Almost Human Cast. Twitter on that is Almost Human Pod. I always get them screwed up. And then any email that wants to come over, you can send it to almosthumanpodcast@gmail.com, because I always check that email. The rest of them I don't always check. So there's many podcasts. So basically, over there you can just pop in and check it out. And then I'm on Nerdgasmatic on Facebook, and then on Nerd Element with you. And epicgeekdom.com, online magazine, which I think you've thrown in a couple articles over there now too, haven't you?
No, not yet. But I like it. I go over there and check it out all the time. I'm not a writer, so I wish I was. I'm going to work on that, though. She's a jack of all trades, everybody. That's basically what Sean's saying right now. She's a jack of all trades. You can find her everywhere. Everywhere. So, and for me, you can find me at NMA23 on Twitter or at The Nerd Element. And then we've got a Facebook page, just facebook.com/The Nerd Element. And our website is up at www.thenerdelement.com. Also, YouTube channel where hopefully you are watching this right now. It's the YouTube. You can find us at The Nerd Element. So, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap up here, but we will be talking to you soon about Orphan Black. Thank you, Sean, and I will see you in about a week or so.
Yes, C2E2 in Chicago. I'm excited.
Yay! All right, bye, guys.
Bye.